Alright, so we are looking at Quinn top, starting off with a Quinn game. We're against Hecarim. This is in Gold 3. Okay, I'm going to speed up a little bit here. It's a pretty short game, 20 minutes. So we might blitz through this one fairly quickly. We're going to focus in on the lane phase, and then we'll look at some late game decision making as well. So this player said that they have historically had a little trouble getting Quinn to work the way they want, or finding success with Quinn rather. Okay, so we're just going to look at and see what might be causing that. Okay, so little thing. This is something that's pretty common right now. Is laners are starting with a jungle camp. Now, what he did is slightly unusual in that he started Krugs. Which soloing Krugs is a little tricky, but since he has teleport, it's possible. Or smite, excuse me. Nicely done. Good first blood. So I'm just going to back it up here just to talk about this general thing, because if you come to lane like this, one thing you can do with Quinn that's actually, it's a little cheesy, but it works all the way up into Platinum versus a lot of matchups, so I'm not sure if it'll keep working post-Platinum, but it works so far. So if you actually walk up into the brush here, you know, ideally before minions get there, but if you come up into and just park here, if Hecarim comes to lane, like, you know, normally, like a laner normally would with his minion wave, then you can actually bounce in and out of here and get a really good damage combo off before he even has a chance to start CSing and stuff. And if you use the brush right, then you won't take much minion aggro either. Hecarim's one that will probably charge you and try to deal some damage back, and so you want to hold on to your vault until after he hits you. Because if you do vault Hecarim while he's charging you, then the knockup will interrupt your vault and you won't be able to bounce off. So you want him to hit you first and then vault off of him. It's one of the little annoying things that makes Hecarim so special. But, so that's one thing you can do, is to get up here. But what the other thing this does is getting up here is this gives you a little bit of advanced knowledge about where the laner is at. So right now, since we know now that Hecarim is here, and his summoners give you a clue as to this. A top laner taking smite will usually do a camp before they come to lane. That's pretty typical. So since he has smite, so he's likely to do it anyway, and since there's a number of top laners, Scion, trying to think of some other common ones, Maokai sometimes, to do that will do a camp before they come to lane. And so if you're sitting here and you're seeing the wave come and it's been a couple of seconds, you know, it's pushing about this time, 2 minutes, 2:01, you know, maybe a little bit sooner ideally, they haven't showed up, then you can pretty accurately guess that they are going to be doing a camp. They're either going to be doing wraiths, or maybe they're doing wolves. Krugs are, if they have smite, then Krugs are an option. But one thing you can do to try to punish that is to shove it into the turret as quickly as possible. That's something you often want to do on Quinn anyway, is to shove it into the turret so that by the 4th wave or so it starts actually pushing back towards your turret and you can freeze it right here. That's just kind of the way the minion math works out if you shove it early. But you want to do that anyway to try to punish, so Hecarim can't do Krugs and then come to lane and still get most of his CS. So anyway, so you come up here and you realize that Hecarim is not coming to lane, he's doing a camp, so you actually want to hold on to your skill point and not level up E yet until you know that this is what you want to do. If Hecarim comes to lane, put a point in E and do your harass combo. If he doesn't come to lane, put the point in Q and use it to shove the wave quicker, because the Q obviously does AoE damage, and so it's a little faster. So put the point in Q, hit the casters with it, so, and you can even, if you realize it early enough that he's not coming to lane, you can dance in and out of the brush so the minions will aggro you, and so if you step out, the minions aggro you and they walk towards you, step back in, they head back toward the lane like they normally would. So you do that several times, and that kind of jukes them back and forth so they don't make as much progress toward the center of the lane, and the waves will actually meet right about here if you do it right. And then you can shove it into the turret as quickly as possible, and that forces Hecarim then... he'll either lose some CS if you're fast enough. Since he did Krugs and just ran right to lane, you might not be able to shove it quite that fast, but it'll give you a little bit of an edge in general to be able to force Hecarim to start, CSing rather than looking to harass you. So anyway, so this particular game, he was overconfident. He started, Hunter's Machete, as opposed to a lot of top laners will start Doran's or Cloth or something. So he started really aggressive and didn't really respect your damage potential. So you're able to take advantage of that. But in general, that's just a strategy that you can use to try to punish people that start jungle camps. And you kind of want to be up here regardless. But by now, for sure, you realize, okay, Hecarim's not coming. So you know that he's going to be doing a jungle camp. You know he's going to be coming to lane level 2 or very close to level 2. At least. Okay, so you hit him and you auto and vault off. That's good. You do a lot more damage to him than he does to you. Hecarim in general can be a nightmare lane if he plays it right. So fortunately, he doesn't seem to be very informed on how the matchup works, and he keeps wandering in your harass range, and you successfully punish that. I don't know if you needed a flash there. I pretty strongly suspect that he probably would have turned right back around and come and let you harass him again, just because that's what he had done every single time. But regardless, that's the best way to spend a summoner spell, is early on to get a kill. Okay, but now you want to go throw down a ward. Right after you had cleared that wave, or after this wave at the latest. Good, you're keeping up the pressure, that's really good. Okay, good, okay, good. Yeah, this is the latest that you, yeah, he's calling for help now because he's realizing that he's in trouble. Little thing, put that ward here. Because if you put the ward, if you put it where you did, you only get vision out to here. If you put it here, the vision actually, you just get a little bit more vision of the river. It's an arc like this. Because if you, wards are line of sight, so since it's right up against the wall right here, and here putting it here doesn't actually gives you a little more vision here as well. So the only thing that putting it here kind of cuts off is a little bit of vision this way, but this isn't nearly as critical normally. So yeah, move it down here. It's just a small optimization of your ward placement. Okay. So right now you got to be thinking that Udyr is looking for a gank because it's about the time when he's finished his second buff. Hecarim is calling for a gank because you've been bullying him so hard. You're down flash and ignite, and you're pushed. So you are prime ganking material. So you saw Hecarim, he was low. He was low enough that it's not like he can't just run up to you and have his way with you no matter what. But between Hecarim and Udyr, they put out enough upfront damage that you do need to respect it. So you did back off there, you saw him coming. Oh, careful. You do want to be shoving this right now, though. You either want to be letting Hecarim push it so that it pushes back to your lane, or you want to shove it all the way into his turret so that the turret is interrupting his CS pattern. Good. For some reason he thought that would go differently than it has every other time so far. Okay, this is a pretty good time. Well, actually, so this is in general, yeah, this is in general a good time to go back because Udyr is probably going to be there's a good chance that he's going to be looking to come gank you again since he knows your flash is still down and you were pushed up. It's a little tempting to stay because Hecarim was so low and you're pretty close to 6. So if you can get your ward back down, then you can kind of take a calculated risk there if you feel like. But this is a pretty good time to go back right now because you can get Brutalizer, and since you're beating up on Hecarim pretty hard already, and since you have an Ezreal mid who is somebody that you want to be able to burst down when you roam, a Brutalizer early can really help with that. But at this point you're overstaying. So it's tempting to just stay in lane for as long as possible, but you kind of want to think that through. So you could have kind of left the lane over here and let it sit there for you and to wait for you to come back. There was a couple opportunities already you had where the wave has already shoved a turret, but now you're going back and Hecarim is already back at the turret. So he's not really going to miss much of this, maybe a little bit of it, if he's smart. And because you waited until he got back to turret to recall, now you are... if he shoves it quickly enough, which he's not doing, but potentially he could shove it hard enough so that it actually is pushing off of your turret by the time before you have a chance to get back. So it's good that you went back because you don't want to be in a situation where all of the advantage you have built up in this lane so far is sitting in the bank. Right, you've got a kill, you've got a CS lead, so you don't want that advantage to be just sitting in the bank as opposed to combat stats. And that's true for any matchup. If you want to find the balance between maximizing your advantage in lane and not being, and staying in lane for as long as makes sense. Careful, he is 6 now. Oh yeah, he's dead. Oh, you didn't need to flash. Oh, you blew. I don't think you needed to flash there. So let's look at that real quick. This is just a little thing. Okay. So he ults away. The replay doesn't bring up ranges, unfortunately. But you're moving way faster than him. You're definitely. Oops, I didn't mean to recall again. Sorry. Gosh, dang it. So you are in vault range, or very close to it, and it's just it comes up off a cooldown right about here. So you might have even been in execute range already, but you flash and then vault. So even if he does get, even if you do take one turret shot, you're fine here. But you don't need, this is a wasted flash. And remember, you don't need to be right next to him for your execute to do damage. Like if you just get within the AoE range of your execute, it'll do its thing. And it's actually a pretty long range. Again, I can't bring up the ranges here. Yeah, it doesn't say on that thing. I'll have to look it up. I can't remember off the top of my head what the exact range is of the execute. But anyway, it's a large AoE, and it's an auto attack reset as well. So if you execute, and as long as you're in auto attack range, even if you haven't quite done enough damage to kill him. Oh, he didn't he wasn't he wasn't targeting you with his auto attack. That's why his charge didn't knock you up there. Okay, so you're playing this pretty well so far. Hecarim is down in CS, and you have a 2-kill lead, and you can pretty much melt him whenever you want. So right now, you got to be thinking that Hecarim is probably talking to his jungler and calling for a gank. Oh yeah, if you were just pointed out that if you blind him on his way, then it will negate at least part of the damage of the attack. It might negate all of it. I'd have to test that or maybe you're 100% certain that it negates all of it, but I'd have to go double check that. Because sometimes blind will block like the auto attack portion, but not the bonus damage of an on-hit attack like that. But anyway, if you blind him on the way to when he's charging at you, then that will at least mitigate the damage. Okay, this is something to see. This is a free kill for you. LeBlanc's gonna pick it up, or she should. There we go. Okay, so right about now, you are at a point where you are in perfect position to start deleting people in other lanes. You can stay up in top lane, and you don't want to just give Hecarim, you don't want to just abandon top and give Hecarim a free lane or anything like that. But you also want to balance out, you know, kind of trapping yourself up here. You've already beat Hecarim. And so staying up here and continuing to keep your foot on his neck is going to start to have diminishing returns. You know, after you have one more kill, if you kill him one more time, you'll still get full gold for it. But if you kill him a fourth time, it's going to start giving you less and less gold. And so as he starts to get some items, and it's harder to push him off and keep him from CSing, and harder to secure kills. Ooh, risky, I like it. Yeah, you got to be careful though of that ult. Bummer. Yeah, you can't die. You gotta just be aware of what people can do when you're turret diving like that. If he had used his ult before, then that's a pretty easy kill. But since his ult was up, that was really risky. So that's one thing. Kind of again, just talking about this kind of diminishing returns idea. So, so right now you're looking at the situation. So before that death, you were 2-0. He's 0-2. 72 CS to 50, you know, or whatever it was. You have about a 15, about a 15 CS lead, give or take. Let me just back it up here before that happened. Yeah, about 15. So 15 is about another kill, roughly, maybe a little bit less. So you have almost a 3-kill lead in terms of gold on him. So you can stay up here and here, and you can keep your foot on his neck, and versus some matchups, maybe that's the right thing to do. And depending on what the mid lane matchup is, maybe there's really not a whole lot of room to be ganking here anyway, and so it's not really worth your time trying. But at this point, you've already won top. And so staying up here to keep winning harder will start being more or less and less the best use of your time, basically. So if you've already beat Hecarim, then that's a good time to roam mid and win mid as well and help LeBlanc beat Ezreal. So right now LeBlanc is already beating Ezreal, and so it's not like critical that you do this. You know, they're in good shape right now so far. But that's something you can start thinking about, is to start picking up kills mid. You can start thinking about getting vision deep in their jungle. So if there's not a gank, then you can, you know, you want to have upgraded your trinket here shortly. I know you just hit level 9 here recently, so you haven't had a chance yet, but you got a couple of green wards, and that's really good. So you can, so if you shoved Hecarim here, and he's not like a free kill, which since he has his ult up, he's not a free kill, so you got to be keeping that in mind. Or it will be up shortly here anyway, but you have a chance, since you've shoved him in here and you don't really have kill pressure on him, and it's not really worth the use of your time to try to like harass him out of getting 1 or 2 CS. You can get a lot more more impact out of your time by going and throwing some deep wards down to start messing with Udyr, or to roam mid and start killing Ezreal, or even you know, when you recall, consider doing a lane gank bot depending on the situation if you see a good opportunity to do that. If you're running teleport, then you even have less kill pressure up on top, and so you want to be looking to do that even more. So anyway, just something to start thinking about at this point in the game. When you've already won top, how can you take that, where can you take that lane victory and start impacting other lanes? Anybody that has a really clutch ultimate, like a CC ultimate or an untargetable ultimate, or untargetable ability, not even just ultimates. If they have a CC ability or a dodge ability or anything, you got to be really, really careful about turret diving. You can try to bait it out. You can try to, you know, so in that situation, maybe you, did you have flash up? No, you didn't. So yeah, that's just really risky. Vladimir's terrible to turret dive because of pool, so unless you know it's on cooldown. Jax is terrible to turret dive because of Counter-Strike, same thing, unless you know it's on cooldown. Hecarim's got his ult. He also has a knockups, which is not a super reliable knockup, but he does have one. You just got to be really careful about that, because now at this point you had a lead, and you still have a lead, you're still ahead, but now you've given Hecarim a little bit of a foothold back into this lane. And so you weren't really thinking about protecting your lead, you were thinking about you know, forcing a play. So the first couple of kills you got were really solid. You saw a situation where Hecarim had made a mistake and overextended. He didn't realize the danger he was in, and you capitalized. And that kill, Hecarim was low, but it was a real gamble. Like that was, I mean, maybe you would have come out of it, but it's not a sure thing. And turret diving is always just really risky, and so you got to be thinking: is it really worth? You know, is another kill so valuable to me right now that it's worth the chance that Hecarim might, you know, it might go in Hecarim's favor? Is it worth risking the lead that I've worked so hard building up right now to get one more kill? Maybe sometimes it is. In this situation, I don't think it was. Okay, so... Oh yeah, you don't have kill pressure yet, I don't think. Yeah. That was kind of a wasted ult. You don't need to be paying attention to the items he's buying. It's very likely he's going to go tank anyway, because that's kind of what Hecarim tends to do. Sometimes they'll go damage, but usually they'll go tank or bruiser anyway, some little bit of damage and mostly tank. But especially when they're losing lane, if they're smart, they'll start building tank items. And so you know, in turn, that will start to mitigate your damage. And so you just got to be really aware of the changing value of your burst combo, basically. And you can add that up. You can just, you know, you can do some basic math, hit him with an auto attack, see how much damage it does, do some quick math in your head, check your abilities. It's kind of hard to do an exact calculation on the fly like that, but you can get pretty close. And if you really want to, you know, really want to hone in and master a champion, then you can spend some time actually memorizing what the damage combos are versus certain amounts of armor and certain mastery sets and stuff, and so you actually know for sure how much, you know, when Hecarim falls into lethal range. But anyway, so at this point you're having trouble killing him, and he's getting to the point where he's kind of becoming more of a bother, and he's still behind. But so he's behind you. You've put him behind enough at this point that he's not going to be able to just start rampaging around the map and carrying. And so you've kind of already done your job. You've already set him behind. He's going to have to take a little bit longer before he's able to do much. And since he's starting to get harder and harder for you to kill, now's the time to start thinking about trying to rush this turret down. I mean, lane phase. You need to end lane phase is basically what I'm saying. You need to get this over with. So you can consider taking his turret, or you can consider just continuing to shove it into his turret and then roaming and then coming back and rinse repeat. Yes, all of these replays will end up on the YouTube channel. I'll get them up as soon as I can. It might not be immediately afterward, but they will be available on the YouTube channel. Yeah, see, he's just getting too hard to kill, and you got to be real careful because he's got his CC with his ult. He does a surprising amount of damage. He's got Cinder Hulk, so he's constantly dealing area of effect magic damage to you. And so that's a couple of times where you've been baited in. You know, the tides have kind of turned. At first he was underestimating your damage, and now you're underestimating his damage. And you had a lead, but now that lead is almost gone. Let's see, where are we at with gold? Yeah, he's actually ahead because his team has a turret. So now Hecarim is winning. So you had a lead, but you didn't do a great job of protecting that lead. One of the most common mistakes, I mean, this isn't super low elo, it's gold. So I mean, super low elo is in bronze and silver and stuff, but people make it all the time. It's not limited to super low elo. It's just more common there. But anyway, one of the most common mistakes I see is that people don't know, and low elo is that they don't know how to lose a lane gracefully. So people, when they get behind, they feel like they need to force a play or do something amazing to try to get back in the game. As you move up, that problem starts to fade a bit. People make that mistake less. But the other one that takes a lot longer for people to stop making is not protecting their advantage. So you developed an early advantage in this lane. You were ahead by a significant amount, about 3 kills worth of gold at one point. That's almost 1,000 gold lead, which is gigantic. And instead of protecting that and making sure that you continued to play really smart and really safe, and punishing mistakes and manipulating Hecarim into making mistakes, you kind of switched over to thinking that, wow, I can do whatever I want to Hecarim, I'm able to kill him whenever I want, which early on maybe you were, but as the situation changed and he bought armor items, that was less and less true. And so you didn't update your assessment of the situation, and you made a couple of really risky plays thinking that because you got 2 early kills, you could kill him whenever you wanted, and you end up throwing your lead. What you should be doing instead of that is taking the advantage that you had and making sure that you don't give it back to Hecarim. So you're going to continue to play safe. You're going to continue to make smart plays instead of strong plays. You're going to wait for Hecarim to mess up. And if it's taking too much of your time and resources to wait for Hecarim to mess up because he's getting tankier and tankier, and so it's getting harder and harder to get him to lethal range, then you're not even going to mess with him anymore. You're going to do this. So you're gonna come mid and you're gonna delete Ezreal, or you're gonna recall and lane gank bot. You're gonna start using the power you've built up to start winning the game instead of fighting a battle in top lane that's getting harder and harder for you to do your job in. And this is matchup agnostic. It's particularly true for Quinn because she's a carry, and so you want to start carrying as soon as possible. But it's true of any matchup. If you have a lead, that doesn't mean that you should start forcing that advantage and looking for every opportunity in the world to delete people. You want to look to protect that lead and start using it as effectively as possible all over the map. Okay. So this is indicating that this game is going to end in 30 seconds, and that's really confusing to me. So either the replay file isn't working correctly, or it's giving me a bad time, or you guys surrender at a really weird time. I think the clock is just wrong. This is kind of bizarre. I'm not sure why it's not letting me. It's not going to let me. Oh, you do. Why did you guys... What? What? I am so confused by this. Why? The only thing that makes any level of sense is this is like a 4-man pre-made and they had to go eat dinner or something. What is going on? You have a 5-0 LeBlanc. Your bot lane is getting dumpstered, but I mean... What? You're ahead. LeBlanc is crazy ahead. Rengar's doing well. This is... I'm so confused by this. Yeah, the only thing I think of is this is a 4-man pre-made that decided they wanted to go get McDonald's or something. That's nuts to me. Okay, so that's kind of sad that we don't really actually get to see the mid-game of your play. But I think there was enough to think about early on. You played Quinn pretty well. Honestly, you pressured Hecarim well early on. The things that you know, the big takeaways from this basically, and who knows how this would have played out in the rest of the game. But the big takeaways from this is that you got an advantage early on, and that's really good, especially as a carry. You want to snowball early and get a couple of kills to start being able to strangle the entire map. But instead of moving that power around the map and like ganking Ezreal or ganking bot lane, who needed some help because bot lane was getting dumpstered, so that might have been a good thing to go do. Instead of moving that power that you were developed around the map and starting to win the game, you kept playing top lane. So, you know, League of Legends is a 5v5 game, and the Nexus is the goal. And you gotta be careful about falling into a trap where you forget that League of Legends is the game you're playing, and you start just playing top lane, you know, Street Fighter top lane League of Legends edition, and you just kind of tunnel in on this mini game here in top lane, and forget that the ultimate goal is killing the Nexus. And so, you know, when you develop an advantage, you want to be starting to ask yourself questions about how you can best use that advantage around the map. You know, in this case, ganking Ezreal a few times probably would have been pretty solid. If you saw an opportunity to lane gank bot, or to even just roam all the way down bot, you don't have teleport, so bot lane's a little trickier to get to. But if you can do it, then that's excellent. If you can't do either of those things, at least start getting deep vision down, so you can start messing with Udyr so he doesn't go nuts. And you can stop them from roaming up on you and killing you. So a lot of matchups in top lane are tanks like Hecarim, people that build bruiser, build tank, and at a certain point they get really hard to deal with 1v1. They may not be able to kill you unless you overcommit like you did a couple of times, but you stop being able to really pressure them in a meaningful way. They get so tanky they can just shrug off your damage, and they don't really care anymore. And so at that point, spending up time up here is really inefficient. You are a carry, not a tank. You don't really want to be just dancing around up here all day. You want to take the advantage that you created and move it down here. So build up an advantage as a carry like Quinn. Same is true for Riven or Rengar, whoever you're playing top that's a carry. And start moving that around the map. Don't get stuck in top lane. The mentality that I have to keep winning this lane. That's not, you already won the lane. You won the lane. Go win the game. And continue to play smart and play safe so that you don't give your lane opponent a foothold back into the game once you've already taken him out of it. Okay, so I'm going to call it good there. I hope that was helpful, and I'll upload this to YouTube as soon as I can, so you'll have access to it whenever you want to take a look. All right, we'll move on here. Cool, thanks Summoner School. Carl Boyson, thanks for the host. I really appreciate it.